Since Sweden and Finland now join NATO and we are in the alliance of NATO, I think the cooperation between the countries for the northeastern flank when it comes to the political perspective and also, of course, the defense forces perspective is increasing dramatically now. So how do we protect the Baltic Sea, for example? How do we make sure that we have a recognized air picture over the entire northern region? How do we make sure that we train properly on the same equipment that Sweden and Poland uses together? And how can we, going forward, look at protecting the critical infrastructure of the Baltic Sea, but also work Navy to Navy on intelligence and deterrence towards the east? So there are so many areas now that have been sort of increased in intensity in terms of how we can cooperate. And since we have equipment on both sides, both in Poland and Sweden, I see lots of potential going forward, of course. I think, as I mentioned, the underwater infrastructure in terms of some cable and energy and what have you, there are equipments that both Poland and Sweden uses that can monitor that, of course, and over time also more protect. Then we have the SIGINT ships. Sweden have one version and we're building two for Poland as we speak, together with the Polish shipyard. And that adds sort of a possibility to have intelligence and share that between the states, of course. And then we have, as I said, in the region doing airborne early warning type of missions also give you a situation awareness that can be shared between the countries. Hopefully going forward we have the Polish Orca program, the submarine program, and since Sweden have a conventional submarine capability, there's lots of potential in common training, in how you do CONOPS in the Baltic Sea together, and actually have submariners doing sort of missions on each other's ships if defense forces decide. And Saab is building these conventional submarines, and hopefully we can be competitive then in the market also when Poland decides where to go on the submarines. So there's more potential going forward. To start with, we are an extremely collaborative company. We're not the biggest country in the world. We don't have enough engineers. We're growing as a company. We need more sort of good engineers, and Poland has excellent competence in this area. We are already building the SIGINT ships together with the Polish shipyard, Remontowa. And PGZ is a company we've spoken to many times about collaborations in many areas. So we can, from a submarine perspective, the submarines are built in a modular way, so we can share production, of course. We can share how to build a shipyard capability on both sides of the Baltic Sea, so we can have a repair and maintenance and upgrade capability in Poland, but also in Sweden, which will be an incredibly important redundancy. And we are open to discussions with PGZ and private industry as well on how to accomplish that. And of course all the subsystems within the submarine can also be worked with companies like CTM and so forth. So of course we've had relationships with them before on certain programs, and we are prepared to do that again. So it would be a build-up of technology and technology transfer from our side if we are successful in the Orca program. And we need the capacity as well in Poland to help. And remember, when we built the SIGINT ship in Sweden, we decided when the shipyard was in trouble to bring 200 Polish workers to our shipyard in Karlskrona in Sweden, and we built a shipyard within the shipyard, and they helped us build this ship. So we know that you have excellent production and workers and engineers in this area. So of course that would be the case. The key features you must have in the Baltic Sea is, because of the mix between sweet and salt water, you have to have torpedoes that are launched that can cope with that type of environment. You have to be extremely silent because it's a rather shallow sea, and so you must be able to stay submerged for a long time at the bottom of the sea for like weeks. You have to have air-independent propulsion. and you need to have excellent sort of sensor capabilities to see what's going on around you. And of course, then you have to be lethal if you need to, with your torpedoes and stuff like that. So there are certain things, and you have to be extremely shock resistant, because when our sort of aggressive neighbor is doing submarine warfare, they do it in a very aggressive way. So we have actually tested our submarines literally for real when it comes to exploding things around them. So a number of features that comes with the Baltic Sea that we share, of course, with the Polish perspective of the Baltic Sea, which is important. When we establish this sort of collaboration with companies, of course, and if we are successful in the export market, we bring with that ecosystem of companies. We don't do that for one country and then we go and do something different for another country. So, of course, that will lead to us bringing with that will be a partnership with the supply chain that will be coming with us into the export market. That is, if you take the fighter, for example, we've done that in Brazil. So we have Brazilian companies now having parts in our fighter system, which we're selling into the export market, and they are part of the Swedish versions of the fighters as well. So that's how we do it. So of course that would be a thing. We already have had Polish workers on our submarine activities in our Swedish shipyard, a few, so that's how we do it. I think you have a good analysis on that side. I mean, we do so many things together in terms of using these complicated and sophisticated systems. So of course the Navy need to develop a common CONOPS going forward on how they treat and share information, and how they help deter, of course, the Russian threat. And also on the submarine side, as I said, they can do common CONOPS. So it's a good element to complement the SIGINT ships, of course, but also the airborne early warning. I think they are in dialogue. It's not for me to be in that room, of course, but of course it's incredibly important now when we have such a common view of the aggressor to the east. And remember, when we were a neutral country for a long time, all of our systems were developed to sort of handle that threat. And that makes it really beneficial for the two countries to work together, I think, going forward, looking at that threat. Now, when we now are the alliance in the alliance, of course, that intensifies, because now we can do that sort of from a NATO northern flank perspective. So the Navy to Navy, the Air Force to Air Force, and land forces together needs to develop a common view of how to handle this region. And hopefully that is now very intensive discussions going on between Poland and Sweden. I think this conference, this forum, and having Sweden as a main partner shows how important Poland is. And Poland is really impressive in how you have decided not to compromise with building defense capabilities to handle this threat to the east. And you have a land border, but we don't have that, but we do share the Baltic Sea. So I think Poland is a good example of that you cannot compromise this. You have taken a paradigm shift in how you view this from a security perspective. And I think other countries can learn, Sweden as well. I mean, Sweden is quite close to Poland, so it's easy to work together anyway. But I need to increase my footprint here through partnerships, of course, with the Polish industry, and set up more of local support capabilities, maintenance capabilities, upgrade capabilities. I think we need to discuss also how we manage the stockpiles on ammunition, for example, in discussions between the countries. So there are many of these discussions happening now based on the large contracts we have with Poland. So I'm really intensifying my team on making sure that we can grow our footprint in Poland in partnerships with the local industry, starting, of course, with training, maintenance, repair, but then software upgrades and things like that. So we need to do more in Poland, that definitely. And it makes sense for us as well. It's a win-win.